I, 32F, have been going through a really tough time lately, and I need some outside perspective on whether I'm being unreasonable. This all started about 2 years ago when my ex-fiancé Nolan, 34M, and I broke up after 5 years together. We had been high school sweethearts and everyone thought we were the perfect couple. Nolan and I met when I was a sophomore and he was a senior. We bonded over our shared love of music. He played guitar in a local band and I sang in the school choir. Our first date was at a small coffee shop where his band was performing. I remember being so nervous, but as soon as he started playing, all my nerves melted away. We started dating soon after and were inseparable throughout high school and college. After graduation, we both got jobs in our hometown and moved in together. Everything seemed perfect. We had a cute little apartment, adopted a dog together, and started talking about marriage. Nolan proposed on our 5-year anniversary during a weekend trip to the beach. I was over the moon and immediately started planning our dream wedding. But about 6 months into our engagement, things started to change. Nolan became distant and moody. He was staying out late with his friends more often and picking fights over little things. I tried to talk to him about it, but he just said he was stressed about work. I figured it was just cold feet and tried not to worry too much. Then one day, out of the blue, Nolan sat me down and said he wanted to break off our engagement. He said he had fallen out of love with me and needed to find himself. I was absolutely devastated. My whole world came crashing down in an instant. How could the man I thought I'd spend my life with suddenly not want me anymore? At the time, my younger sister Zoe, 29F, was incredibly supportive. She let me cry on her shoulder for hours and told me I deserved so much better. Zoe and I had always been really close growing up, despite a bit of a rivalry when we were teenagers. As kids, we shared a room and would stay up late whispering and giggling together. In high school, we drifted apart a bit as Zoe got involved with the popular crowd while I was more of a band geek. But as adults, we rebuilt our bond and talked almost every day. We considered each other best friends. So I leaned heavily on her during the breakup. Zoe even offered to let me move in with her for a while, since Nolan and I had been living together. She helped me pack up my things and listened patiently as I alternated between sobbing and raging about Nolan. For weeks, she brought me ice cream and trashy magazines, trying to cheer me up. I don't know how I would have gotten through those first awful months without her. About 6 months after Nolan and I split, I started to notice Zoe acting a bit weird and distant. She would cancel our plans last minute or be really vague about what she was up to. I brushed it off at first, figuring she was just busy with work. Zoe had recently gotten a big promotion at her marketing job and I knew she was putting in long hours. But then mutual friends started making comments about seeing Zoe and Nolan together around town. At first I didn't believe it, surely my own sister wouldn't betray me like that. But the comments kept coming. Someone saw them having dinner at a romantic restaurant. Another friend swore they were holding hands at the movies. When I confronted Zoe, she initially denied it. She got defensive and accused me of not trusting her. But after I kept pushing, she finally admitted that she and Nolan had started dating. She swore it had just happened naturally and that she never meant to hurt me. But I was too shocked and hurt to really process what she was saying. I was absolutely blindsided and felt so betrayed. How could my own sister do this to me? She knew how devastated I had been over the breakup. All those times she had comforted me and badmouthed Nolan, had she been lying? Had she been secretly happy about our breakup so she could swoop in? My mind was racing with awful possibilities. I told Zoe I never wanted to speak to her again and blocked her number. Our parents tried to mediate and get us to reconcile, but I refused. I was just too hurt. Every time I thought about Zoe and Nolan together, I felt physically ill. It was like losing my fiancé and my best friend all at once. The next year or so was really tough. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts at the family business to stay busy. I also started volunteering at an animal shelter, which helped take my mind off things. But I felt so alone. Zoe and I had shared all the same friends, so I withdrew from a lot of those social circles to avoid running into her or Nolan. I tried dating a bit, but my heart wasn't in it. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd never be able to trust anyone again after such a huge betrayal. How could I open myself up when the two people closest to me had hurt me so deeply? Fast forward to now, almost 2 years later. I got a wedding invitation in the mail last week. Zoe and Nolan are getting married. I was shocked they would even invite me after everything. Our parents called and begged me to attend, saying I need to forgive Zoe and that family is the most important thing. They think I'm being petty and need to let the past go. But I just can't bring myself to celebrate my sister marrying the man who broke my heart. The thought of watching them say vows and dance together makes me physically ill. Am I being unreasonable for refusing to go to the wedding? Should I try to forgive Zoe for the sake of family harmony? I'm so torn and could really use some outside perspectives. Some additional background: Zoe and I grew up in a small town where everyone knows everyone's business. Our parents run a successful local hardware store that's been in the family for generations. They've always been very image conscious and involved in the community. They're on the city council, volunteer at church, and basically know everyone in town. So they're mortified by the scandal of Zoe and I being estranged and worry what people will say if I don't attend the wedding. But I feel like they care more about appearances than my feelings. Growing up, our parents always pushed us to present a perfect image to the outside world. We had to get good grades, be involved in extracurriculars, volunteer, anything to make the family look good. There was a lot of pressure to live up to their expectations. I think that's part of why Zoe rebelled a bit as a teenager, while I was always the good girl trying to please everyone. Zoe has tried reaching out a few times over the past 2 years to apologize, but I've ignored her attempts. Part of me misses our friendship, but I just can't get past the betrayal. We used to be so close. We'd have sister nights with wine and rom-coms, go shopping together, call each other for advice about everything. Losing that bond has left a huge hole in my life. But every time I consider forgiving her, I remember how she lied to my face for months while secretly dating Nolan. Nolan hasn't reached out at all, which honestly hurts even more. It's like I meant nothing to him after 5 years together. We had talked about spending our lives together, having kids, growing old side by side. How could he throw all that away and move on so quickly with my sister of all people? Did he ever really love me at all? I know I probably need to move on eventually for my own peace of mind. But right now, the wound still feels so fresh. The idea of putting on a happy face at their wedding and pretending everything is fine makes me want to scream. I'd have to watch them pledge their love to each other, knowing that their relationship started with lies and betrayal. I'd have to smile for photos and make small talk with guests who all know the gossip about what happened. Just thinking about it gives me anxiety. Am I justified in skipping the wedding and maintaining no contact? Or am I being petty and need to suck it up for the sake of family? I feel like I'm going crazy with all the pressure from my parents to forgive and forget. But I also worry that if I don't try to reconcile now, I'll regret it later. I just don't know what to do and could really use some outside advice. Update 1. Thank you all for the supportive comments on my last post. I really appreciated the validation that I'm not crazy for feeling hurt and betrayed. After a lot of reflection, I decided to stand my ground and not attend Zoe and Nolan's wedding. When I told my parents my decision, they did not take it well at all. My mom started crying and saying I was tearing the family apart. She brought up how she had always dreamed of both her daughters getting married and how I was ruining that vision. My dad got angry and told me I was being selfish and immature. He even threatened to cut me out of the family business. I worked there part-time, if I didn't get over myself and go to the wedding. I was pretty shocked by their extreme reaction. I knew they wanted me to go, but I didn't expect them to resort to emotional manipulation and threats. It really opened my eyes to how toxic my family dynamics are. Growing up, my parents always emphasized the importance of family loyalty above all else. We were taught to always present a united front to the outside world, no matter what was happening behind closed doors. I remember one time in high school when I got in a fight with Zoe and didn't want to attend her piano recital. My parents grounded me for a month and said I was being a terrible sister. They drilled it into us that family comes first, no matter what. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that they're reacting this way now. But it still hurts to realize that they care more about keeping up appearances than about my feelings. They seem to think that if I just show up to the wedding and smile for photos, everything will magically be fine. But they don't understand how deeply Zoe and Nolan's betrayal cut me. A few days after that blow-up with my parents, Zoe showed up unannounced at my apartment. I was tempted not to answer the door, but decided to hear her out. She begged me to reconsider coming to the wedding, saying it wouldn't feel right without me there. She swore that she never meant to hurt me and that her relationship with Nolan just happened. Zoe tried to reminisce about our childhood and all the good times we've shared. She brought up how we always said we'd be each other's maids of honor someday. But all I could think about was how she had betrayed my trust and stolen the man I thought I'd marry. I told Zoe that while I appreciate her apology, I'm just not in a place where I can celebrate her marrying my ex. I said I hope she can respect my decision and give me space. She got upset and accused me of being selfish, saying I was ruining her special day. We ended up in a shouting match before I asked her to leave. The whole situation has been so draining. I'm starting to wonder if I should just give in and go to the wedding to keep the peace. But at the same time, I feel like that would be betraying myself and my own feelings. I'm feeling really alone and conflicted right now. I've been thinking about moving away to get some distance from all the drama. There's a job opportunity in another state that I've been considering. It's a marketing position at a nonprofit organization that does wildlife conservation work. I've always been passionate about animals, so it could be a great fit. Plus, it would get me away from the pressure cooker of my small hometown where everyone knows our family's business. But the thought of leaving everything familiar behind is scary too. This town is all I've ever known. My whole life is here, my job, my friends, my volunteer work at the animal shelter. Starting over somewhere new would be a huge change. And part of me worries that if I leave, I'll be letting Zoe and Nolan win somehow. I've also been struggling with loneliness lately. Most of my close friends were mutual friends with Zoe, so I've withdrawn from a lot of those social circles. I threw myself into work for a while, but that's not really fulfilling. I've tried joining some meetup groups to make new friends, but it's hard to open up to people when I'm still dealing with all this family drama. There's also the issue of the family business. I've worked there part-time since high school and always assumed I'd take it over someday. It's been in our family for generations. If I move away, I'd be walking away from that legacy. I know my parents would see it as a huge betrayal. But at the same time, the thought of being tied to this town and this drama forever makes me feel trapped. I'm just so torn about what to do. Part of me wants to stand my ground and not let Zoe and Nolan's actions drive me away from my home. But another part craves a fresh start where I'm not constantly reminded of the betrayal. I don't know if I'm strong enough to stay here and deal with the fallout of skipping the wedding. Has anyone else dealt with family estrangement? How did you handle the pressure to reconcile before you were ready? I could really use some advice on setting boundaries and taking care of my own mental health in all of this. I feel like I'm at a crossroads and whatever I decide will shape the course of my life going forward. Update 2. Things have escalated even further since my last update. I thought long and hard about the job opportunity in another state and decided to go for it. I figured some distance would be good for my mental health and help me get a fresh perspective. When I told my parents about my plans to move, they completely flipped out. My dad accused me of abandoning the family and said I was ungrateful after everything they've done for me. He brought up how they had paid for my college education and helped me get established in my career. My mom guilt-tripped me, saying I was breaking her heart and that she'd never forgive me if I moved away. Their reaction just reinforced that I'm making the right decision in leaving. I realized how enmeshed and codependent our family dynamics are. It's not healthy for grown adults to try to control their children's lives like this. I spent the next few weeks quietly making arrangements for the move. I gave notice at work, started packing up my apartment, and made plans to rehome my pets with a friend temporarily until I got settled in the new city. It was bittersweet going through all my belongings and deciding what to keep or donate. So many things held memories of my life with Nolan or times with Zoe. But it also felt cathartic, like I was shedding my old life to make room for something new. Word spread quickly through our small town that I was leaving. I got a lot of concerned calls and messages from family friends asking if everything was okay. It was awkward trying to explain the situation without badmouthing Zoe or airing all our family's dirty laundry. I mostly just said I was pursuing a new job opportunity and needed a change of scenery. The day before I was set to leave town, Zoe and Nolan ambushed me at my apartment. They said they'd heard I was moving and wanted to clear the air before I left. Nolan actually had the nerve to say he hoped we could all be friends again someday. I lost my temper and told them both exactly what I thought of their actions and their upcoming marriage. I unleashed all the hurt and anger I'd been holding back for the past 2 years. I told Zoe she was a terrible sister for betraying me like that. I reminded Nolan of all the promises he had made about our future together and asked how he could throw that away so easily. I said I hoped they'd be very happy together, but that I wanted nothing to do with either of them ever again. Zoe started crying and Nolan got defensive. He said I was being dramatic and needed to let the past go. That just made me even angrier. I ended up telling them to get out and that I never wanted to see or speak to either of them again. After they left, I broke down sobbing. It was like reliving the pain of their betrayal all over again. But I also felt a strange sense of relief at finally expressing my true feelings instead of trying to keep the peace. I spent my last night in town saying goodbye to a few close friends who had stuck by me through everything. We reminisced about old times and they wished me well in my new adventure. It was bittersweet, but I felt a spark of excitement about the future for the first time in a long while. As I drove out of town the next morning, I felt a mix of sadness and hope. I was leaving behind the only home I'd ever known, along with a lot of painful memories. But I was also driving towards a fresh start and the chance to build a life on my own terms. I'm more certain than ever that moving away is the right call. I'm looking forward to exploring a new city, throwing myself into my new job, and hopefully making some new friends. It won't be easy starting over, but I think it's necessary for my healing process. To those who suggested therapy in the comments, thank you. I found a therapist in my new city and have an appointment set up for next week. I'm hoping it will help me process everything and learn to set healthier boundaries. Thank you all for your support through this difficult time. It's meant more than you know. I'll try to update again once I'm settled in my new home. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since I moved away, and I wanted to give a final update. The distance has given me a lot of clarity and perspective on the whole situation with my family. The first few weeks in my new city were pretty challenging. I felt lonely and overwhelmed, doubting my decision to leave everything familiar behind. But as I settled into my new job and started exploring the area, things slowly got better. My coworkers have been really welcoming, and I've even made a few friends through a local hiking group. I've been seeing a therapist regularly and it's been incredibly helpful. We've been working through my feelings about Zoe and Nolan's betrayal, as well as unpacking some of the unhealthy family dynamics I grew up with. I'm learning to set boundaries and prioritize my own well-being. I did end up missing Zoe and Nolan's wedding. My parents tried calling and guilting me into flying back for it, but I stood firm. From what I heard through mutual friends, the wedding was a bit of a disaster. Apparently there was a lot of family drama and people gossiping about my absence. Part of me feels guilty for causing a rift, but I know attending would have been worse for my mental health. I haven't had any direct contact with Zoe or Nolan. My parents still try to pressure me into reconciling, but I've made it clear that I'm not interested in a relationship with either of them right now. Maybe someday that will change, but for now I'm focusing on healing. The new job is going well. It's challenging work, but I find it really fulfilling. I'm learning a lot about wildlife conservation and feel like I'm making a difference. My boss has even hinted at a potential promotion coming up. I'm slowly building a life for myself here. I've joined a book club and started taking a pottery class. I've even gone on a few dates, though nothing serious yet. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe and just be myself without all the family pressure. That's not to say everything is perfect. I still have moments of sadness and anger over everything that happened. Sometimes I miss my old life and the closeness I used to have with Zoe. The holidays were especially tough being away from family. But overall, I'm in a much better place mentally and emotionally. Moving away was absolutely the right decision for me. I've started thinking about my long-term future here. I'm considering buying a house instead of renting. I might even adopt a dog. I've really missed having a pet. It feels good to be making plans and looking forward to things again. As for my relationship with my parents, it's still complicated. We talk occasionally, but there's a lot of tension. They're struggling to accept that I've built a life without them. I'm trying to maintain some connection while also enforcing healthy boundaries. It's a work in progress.